Okay, welcome once again. This is part 2 of 3 video tutorials on how to install the SMP folding client in a Linux environment on a virtual machine. My name is Travis Power, and I fold under the alias of Porvalsh for Team 32, which is overclockers.com. In this video, we'll be learning how to set up a virtual machine and install Linux on it. So the first thing that we want to do here is go and install Linux, go and download Linux, and the particular OS that we're looking for here is called Ubuntu, and the current version is 9.1. However, there's been a few issues with 9.1 from folders, and so we're still recommending 9.04. You can find this on Google by typing Ubuntu 9.04 download. The very first result here is the John T. Jackalope. Go ahead and click that. Now, for those of you with 64-bit capable processors, you want to select the AMD ISO here. If you have a 32-bit processor, you want to select the Intel. It doesn't matter if you have a 64-bit Intel processor, you still want to select this AMD version. We have 64-bit capabilities, so we're going to download this. And as you can see, I've already downloaded it. Once your download has completed, you'll go ahead and double-click on VMware Player and click on Create a New Virtual Machine. Now, instead of using an installer disk, we want to point VMware Player to the ISO file that we just downloaded. So click on Browse, click on the ISO file that you just downloaded. See, I put it in Porvalsh Downloads, and then you're ready to click Next. Now, personalize Linux, put a name here, whatever you want. It doesn't matter too much. I'm going to use Porvalsh. Username may not use capital letters. Password, and click Next. Now, what do you want to name this machine? This name here will eventually show up in VMware Player over here. So for this virtual machine, it's a folding machine, so I'm going to name it Folding at Home. How much disk size would you like the virtual machine to use? Some people use 5. Linux or Ubuntu doesn't really use up that much disk space, and remember, you're not going to be storing files on this virtual machine or anything. It's strictly for folding. So I would pick anywhere between 5 and 7 gigabytes. At this screen, you can review your settings. We want to customize this installation further, so click Customize Hardware. Memory. My computer has 4 gigabytes of RAM. Since folding is a relatively intensive task, I'm going to up this to 1024 megabytes. Depending on your processor, whether it's a quad core or a dual core or single core, you can use more or less RAM. For processors, I'm going to select 4. We want this to be the maximum number capable by your CPU. Now click Finish. At this point, VMware Player is installing Ubuntu operating system onto the virtual machine. Now, if this is the first time that you're doing this, most likely VMware will ask you to download and install the Linux tools. Of course, you want to accept this, and it's rather automatic. It'll just go through it for you. While this is completing, I wanted to say 2 things about Ubuntu. The first is that it's free, and that's a very good reason to use it over, say, a pirated copy of Windows. And the second reason for using Ubuntu is that it's based off of Linux, which is generally a more efficient operating system, and therefore our production will be better in this environment than, say, your normal 64-bit Windows environment. Another thing worth noting here is that while doing all this, I have 3 GPU clients currently folding right now in the background. I usually run these 3 GPU clients along with the CPU client that we're setting up here. I usually run them all in the background while I'm using my computer. And you can get away with this because Stanford has done an excellent job in giving right-of-way to those applications that you're using at the moment. So I can do everything from my office tasks to surfing the internet, streaming music and videos. I can do all those things while I'm folding in the background, and this is a very nice feature. In fact, I can even play some of the older games like Civilization 4 with these clients running in the background, and I don't experience any problems. So if you're thinking that this client is going to slow down your computer and you're going to be shutting it down all the time, turning it back on, that's really not the case. Okay, and just like that, the installation is completed and Ubuntu is booting up on our newly created virtual machine. In just a second here, it'll ask for a login, and I'll log in and complete this video. Now, after a few moments, I did get a message saying that VMware Tools was getting downloaded and configured and installed. But here we are. Now I can type in my username. Remember, this is the one that is not capitalized, followed by my password. And with some tribal sounds, now we are in Ubuntu. One thing that I would like you to do is click on Firefox. Firefox is the browser for Ubuntu. And go ahead and navigate to a popular page, like say Microsoft.com. This is just to validate that your internet connection is actually working, and for me it is. So at this point, if you can't get to any external websites, you'll want to hit up our forum at ocforums.com, find the folding group, and post your problems so we can help you out. This concludes video 2. Stay tuned for video 3, where we will get the S&P folding client up and running.